Well, hi there, folks. This is Doris Star Tucker, and I'm introducing you to a very special episode of my podcast, All Over the Place. This is an audio version of a breakdown that I just did, one of the first long-form breakdowns that I've done in quite some time, on the wonderful singer Angie Stone. I did this breakdown because, well, partly because I wanted to learn more about the life and legacy of Angie Stone. She wasn't someone that really necessarily caught my ear back in the day when she first had her rise to fame. But I really enjoyed putting my time and energy into this, really digging in, learning more about her life and about her legacy. You can find the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the visuals that go along with it. This is a fully formed breakdown. You know how I like to do it, mini documentary style. So if you want to see the visuals, head on over to YouTube to see those. But I'm really proud of this podcast on Angie Stone. I hope you enjoy learning more about her life and her legacy. She really is someone to celebrate. Here is my 10-minute breakdown on the life and the legacy of Miss Angie Stone.
I kind of missed the whole Angie Stone phenomenon when it happened. She just sort of slipped through the cracks for me. I'm not really sure why. It's only been in recent years that I've started to learn more about her life and music, and hers is a fascinating story. I found myself visiting interviews of hers online over the years. She represents a through line for so much of the so-called neo-soul period that defined the musical development of so many people of my generation. And if you weren't paying close attention or scouring the internet for interviews, and there are many, you might not know what a significant figure that she was in music, going all the way back to the early days of hip-hop in the early 80s. Now, with her tragic passing, it's become apparent to many more people that along with names like Anthony Hamilton, Jill Scott, and Music Soul Child, Angie Stone was destined to leave an indelible mark on R&B and soul music. I'm Doris Star Tucker, and this is The Breakdown. You probably know Angie Stone from neo-soul classics like No More Rain in This Cloud. My sunshine has come, and no more cried out, in this cloud. Or Brother. But there's way more to Angie Stone than a few slow jams. Her journey through the music industry is one of raw talent, repeated reinvention, and hard-won survival. Born Angela Laverne Brown in Columbia, South Carolina, Angie's musical journey started in the church, like so many soul legends before her. But she wasn't just a singer with a gospel background. Angie had bars. In the late 70s, she became a founding member of The Sequence, one of the first all-female rap groups. They were signed to Sugar Hill Records and even had a hit with Funk You Up in 1979. That's pre-Salt and Pepper, pre-MC Lyte, pre-all of that. But despite her trailblazing status, The Sequence got swept under the rug by an industry that didn't quite know what to do with female rappers at the time. And that would become an all-too-familiar theme in Angie's life, being overlooked even after accomplishing groundbreaking achievements. By the 1980s and early 90s, Angie was doing backup vocals and songwriting and low-key grinding behind the scenes. She linked up with Vertical Hold, an R&B trio that had a minor hit with Seems You're Much Too Busy. But again, it wasn't quite the breakthrough that she deserved. Angie was writing, arranging, producing, and providing the musical backbone on a lot of projects, but she continually found herself on the sidelines. We all know the industry is notoriously brutal to women who don't fit within a narrow mold. Angie didn't have the prototypical pop princess look. She was full-figured, she was dark-skinned, and didn't fit the hyper-sexualized Eurocentric beauty ideals that the industry often shoves down our throats. I mean, if Angie had looked like Aaliyah or Ashanti, the machine probably would have rolled out the red carpet a lot sooner. But she had no choice but to own who she was. She wore her locks, she rocked her curves and her Afrocentricity like armor. Still, it's no secret that her weight was weaponized against her, sometimes in interviews and press coverage. While artists like Jill Scott and Missy Elliott also faced image bias, Angie's journey through it all was especially quiet and lonely. When neo-soul came onto the scene in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, Angie finally got her moment. Her 1999 solo debut, Black Diamond, gave us No More Rain, which sampled Gladys Knight and hit deep for anyone going through heartache or healing. Her Her second album, Mahogany Soul, in 2001, hit even harder. Songs like Brother and I Wish I Didn't Miss You cemented her as a soul queen. But even then, Angie was still kind of an industry secret. While Erykah Badu and Lauryn Hill became neo-soul poster girls, Angie was one of the genre's quiet architects. She laid the groundwork. She opened doors. She didn't just ride the wave, she helped create the tide.
We were the first group to go sell 12-inch records, that many 12-inch records, along with the Sugar Hill Gang, toured the world pretty much. We never get the recognition. Of course, that's probably platinum 10 times over by now.
Now, it's hard to tell Angie's story without talking about D'Angelo. Their destinies and their music were inextricably intertwined. Angie and D'Angelo were an item in the late 90s, but it was more than just romance. It was music, soul, and real-life complexities all rolled into one. Angie helped shape D'Angelo's early sound. She co-wrote tracks and guided him creatively when he was still figuring out who he was artistically. But many people don't know that because history tends to write women like Angie out of the story, especially when someone like D'Angelo becomes a sex symbol and someone like Angie Stone doesn't fit the arm candy mold. Angie said in interviews that she was proud of D'Angelo, but it was hard being cast aside when his star rose.
I think that people read way too much into, again, dollars and cents, right there. All he was a check for them. You put too much pressure on a situation. You take somebody who is, again, thirsty, hungry to be successful, and I don't know what they said behind closed doors. I don't know what they did. It wasn't a normal. It hurt us both to break up. Gotcha. And I can honestly tell you that it affected us, and it still affects my life, his life, my son's life. It's still, those kind of moves hurt people.
Behind the mic, Angie was battling more than industry politics. She struggled with type 2 diabetes, which affected her energy and her ability to tour and record at times. She was open about her health struggles, becoming an advocate and using her platform to talk about how diabetes disproportionately affects Black women.
Dealing with that, I have a diabetes that was induced by prednisone, and I had a chemical spill at Presbyterian Hospital when I was 26 years old that exposed me to a germ and caused the diabetes. So, because the medicine they had to give me. So when you guys saw me yay big, it was the medicine. But a lot of people was like, oh, why are you with that big figure? I said, you don't know my story.
Still, the pain was real, and it affected her career in ways that many fans never saw.
I would say one of the people that I can identify with and relate to is Job. And the reason I say Job is because I've been a Job over and over in my life. And I've seen people win and I've seen them lose over and over. But those that hold their faith to the end regain everything that they've lost.
And in 2015, she had that widely publicized incident where she was arrested after an altercation with her daughter. The headlines were messy, but they didn't tell the full story. It was a moment of frustration, stress, and emotional exhaustion, being aired out in the most public, humiliating way. But Angie kept pushing, kept performing, kept being real. Angie was beloved by her peers. She had a deep respect in the industry from artists like Alicia Keys, India Arie, and Anthony Hamilton. She collaborated often, mentored up-and-comers, and never carried herself like a diva, even though she had every right to. But she could also be blunt, and she didn't sugarcoat anything.
I've never been invited to Black Girls Rock.
No, man.
I'm shocked at that.
Never. If I let little stuff like that stop me from rocking as a Black girl, then I've lost the purpose.
That made her a little unmanageable by industry standards, but it also made her authentic. She didn't play the politics game. She didn't kowtow to anyone. And that, of course, made her even easier to sideline by the folks in power. At about 4 a.m. on March 1st, 2025, the vehicle that Angie Stone was riding in back to Atlanta from Alabama flipped over and was subsequently hit by a big rig. Everyone else in the Sprinter van survived. The heartbreak across the music world was immediate. Her death marked the loss of a real one, a woman who gave the industry her soul, even when it didn't always love her back. We lost a pioneer, a mother, a mentor, a survivor. Angie Stone's legacy isn't just in her discography, it's in the artists that she inspired. It's in the doors that she cracked open. She brought Southern Black womanhood to the forefront without apology. She blended soul, funk, hip-hop, and gospel seamlessly. She refused to shrink herself, even when the world tried to make her small. Angie Stone should be spoken of in the same breath as Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, or Jill Scott. Her work paved the way for so many. So play Wish I Didn't Miss You tonight. Listen to the lyrics, feel that pain, that grit, that gorgeous ache in her voice. It's not just a song. That's Angie Stone's spirit in audio form, still healing, still loving, still living through every note. Long live the Queen.
If you'd like to see more breakdowns like this, you can support my work by joining my Patreon at the link in my bio or in the comments.